Hello and welcome to the big picture. An Indian delegation has gone to Pakistan under the leadership of Commerce Minister Mr. Anand Sharma. This is the first time in 64 years that an Indian Commerce Minister has visited Pakistan. That itself shows the importance of this visit. There are a lot of talks going on and various modalities were to be worked out between India and Pakistan on trade issues. But unfortunately, Pakistan has refused to grant the MFN status which was expected to be given to India. There are other issues involved. India, as we all know, Pakistan is right now going through one of its phases of instability, which seems to have affected the trade talks too. So, to discuss all this, I have with me Mr. Rajiv Sikri, former Foreign Secretary of India, Mr. Soumya Kanti Ghosh, Director of Research in FICCI, and Priyaranjan Dash, who is the Managing Editor of Financial Chronicle. Thanks to all of them for joining me. And also on the phone line with me will be Mr. Syed Muazzam Ali Hashmi of Islamabad Dateline from Islamabad. Welcome to all of you. First, let me go to Mr. Hashmi. Mr. Hashmi, what is the latest of the talks between India and Pakistan on the trade issues?
Well, I think this latest is not a very hopeful note, I think. The reason is that, the Pakistani opinion is coming up that, certain modalities which were supposed to be trickled down to Pakistan, they were not, being translated from Indian side as such as were expected by Pakistani communities or business communities. So this is one issue. And another issue is that there are certain suspicions, certain political and power quarters suspect, the more trade or giving the status of MFN to India would disrupt their businesses. So these are some of the concerns. But there is a positive angle to that also, and which is that, the power quarters and establishment, they are looking forward to a way out to ease relations with India, and trade is the most important thing in it. However, there are other, like I said, the political and religious parties, they have their own angle, and
right.
It will take a little while to do that. However, I believe that, the power quarters' opinion that, we must ease down with India, and trade being the most essential, pivotal role is going to play. That will help. Okay. So I think there is an optimistic angle to it, but it will take definitely a lot of time to reach to that level.
Okay. Okay, please stay on, Mr. Hashmi. We'll come back to you. Mr. Sikri, coming to you. You heard what Mr. Hashmi from Islamabad is saying. There were a lot of hopes raised about this visit. First time a commerce minister is going to Pakistan, 120 top businessmen accompanying him, a lot of hopes about, getting this MFN status from Pakistan. Now that the Pakistan cabinet has deferred it, how is it going to affect the talks, the trade between India and Pakistan?
Well, the trade will carry on as before through third countries, mostly. But what strikes me is that perhaps we should have waited for a Pakistani cabinet's decision before the minister decided to take such a high-profile delegation there.
Right.
Because I think it is a bit of an embarrassment
Absolutely.
To have the minister there, first ever visit of a commerce minister, and nothing comes out of it. And it's not that we were unaware of the difficulties, because although last year they had announced that they would give MFN treatment,
right.
It was conditional, so many caveats were there, ifs and buts. And,
right.
and then, as you pointed out, given the political situation in Pakistan today,
absolutely,
the government led by Mr. Gilani doesn't really have any political weight to push through such a decision when it's fighting for its own survival.
Right.
So those lobbies that are against granting India MFN treatment have obviously had their way.
Yes.
And the gentleman from Islamabad is reporting that nothing is likely to change in the immediate future. It will take quite a while before there is any change that comes about in this situation.
So it was not, I mean, as Mr. Sikri's point, it was not really the right time for such a high-level delegation to visit Pakistan. So you think right now what we see is that all said and done, the balance of trade is weighed heavily in favor of India. And this will continue, you think?
See, if you look at the India's trade with its partners, if I take a simple example, in the region, if I look at the India-China trade, with China, India has a political relation which has not been stable. But today, China is India's second largest trading partner.
Right.
And Pakistan, if I look at the data, is 43rd on the list. The total trade between India and Pakistan today is only around 2.7 billion. Therefore, with China, it is around close to 65 billion. So my point is that let us make a beginning. If we can have a very good trade relation with China, which has multiplied over the last 10 years, why can't we have it with Pakistan? Because both countries have several advantages and we can exploit each other's advantages. We have a huge market. India has a huge market for some of the exports. Like, for example, India is not allowed to export the fruits and vegetables to China, which it can do to Pakistan.
Right.
Then meat is also another product which cannot do to China. So these are all some of the benefits which the Indian industry and also the political class between the two countries should look into, so that at least a decision could be made.
Priyaranjan Das, as Mr. Sikri pointed out, why do you think the Indian government, was it hasty in going ahead with this kind of a delegation to Pakistan? Was there no thinking behind, or didn't they realize that this may not be the right time to go?
Well, trade has its own dynamics. As Mr. Sikri also mentioned, that although the direct trade between the two countries is just $2.7 billion, right, and the Pakistani exports to India is something like 320 million only. Right. So it's mostly our exports to Pakistan.
It's 10 times. I'm told the Indian exports to Pakistan is 10 times Pakistan's imports to India.
That's right.
Right?
And but the trade between the two countries is essentially predominantly through third countries.
Right.
So this indirect trade that is taking place has been estimated at around 8 billion. Some people have estimated it even at $10 billion. So trade is going on. So in terms of the timing of the delegation, it's not the commerce minister is visiting for the first time,
right,
but commerce ministers do not trade.
Right.
It's industry and trade which trades, and there have been several exchanges of
no, but there is always, you will agree that there is always a huge importance given when a minister goes there, and that too when a commerce minister goes for the first time to Pakistan after independence.
Well, of course, that's true. There is certain atmospherics involved,
yes,
but the actual trade has to be on a private sector basis.
Absolutely.
And we have to get into the to actual trade dynamics to understand why the trade is the way it is being carried out today, whether there can be, we can have more direct normal trade relations with Pakistan or not. I think overall, the timing is such, it was actually an opportune time for trade relations between the two countries to normalize. And this delegation's visit actually was done because Pakistani side, they conveyed that the invitation was there from the Pakistani trade minister, who said publicly that he is anxious to enter into 3 specific agreements.
Absolutely. Let me go.
So the trade minister
let me go to Mr. Hashmi. Mr. Hashmi, you heard what our guests in the studio are saying. Do you think that this was the right time for the Indian Commerce Minister to visit Pakistan?
Well, frankly speaking, I will agree with the first gentleman who said that, the timing was a problem.
Right.
The problem is not that, what the ministers have said or not said. The point is that currently the government is not in a position, they are going through a turmoil, trying to plug in their own holes,
yes,
and troubleshoots. So, the timing is that, they are not in a position to do that. And another point is that there is a lot of pressure coming up on the government to leave the offices and have the re-election. So in this scenario, you see the political and religious parties are putting in a lot of pressure.
Right. We will discuss.
Their main agenda, they generate their...
Right, Mr. Hashmi, we'll continue this discussion. We need to go into a short break now. Please stay on. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back. We are discussing the Indo-Pak trade in the context of the Commerce Minister's visit to Pakistan, Mr. Anand Sharma's visit to Pakistan, and what the consequences are. Mr. Sikri, coming back to you, do you think what has happened in the Pakistan cabinet the other day, saying that we need more time, we need to talk to more stakeholders as far as giving MFN status, and also about the negative list, creating the negative list. The way the Pakistan cabinet has spoken, you think this means that this whole issue has gone into a cold storage for a long time now?
I think that till the political crisis is resolved,
right,
and there is a government which is willing to take the bit in its teeth,
right,
and take on the vested interests like some sections of the security apparatus, the army,
right,
as well
and
as
also some fundamentalist parties.
Some fundamentalists. There are also some businessmen who feel that it is going to hurt them. Until that happens, I really don't see much happening. In fact, we sometimes give too much attention to Pakistan, even when we know it's not happening. And if a fraction of that effort could be given to some other neighboring countries, I think it would bear a little more fruit. And I personally think that it's important that we should have a normal trade regime with Pakistan. But it is really up to the Pakistanis to decide. For many decades, they have
India has given them the MFN status.
Yes, it's a normal thing which is provided under the GATT WTO regulations.
Yes.
So it is a very specious plea to say that in Urdu it translates "Sabse Pasanda Mulk." I mean, but Pakistan gives that treatment to every other country.
Except India.
Except India, when it is obliged to do it.
Right. Under the WTO.
Absolutely. Under the GATT and WTO provisions.
Yes.
It is obliged to do it, but it doesn't do so. Now, the second point is that I think Pakistan at some point has to determine what is its vision for the future. Obviously, there's a tussle going on, and I would like to suggest to my Pakistani friends that, does Pakistan think that it will prosper without cooperation with India, without having normal trade relations and economic relations with India? A lot of countries around the world think that India is a promising story.
Right.
They should plug into it. People come from afar and do it. And yet Pakistan next door feels that they are going to be hurt by trying to take benefit.
Obviously, Mr. Sikri, the politics is playing more important role
Yes,
than
of
the,
course,
than
it
the
always
trade.
has.
But Mr. Ghosh, you are part of the FICCI, FICCI, CII, all these organizations, trade organizations, business organizations. These, they are very, very enthusiastic to deal with Pakistan. How, at a level of the people to people or businessman to businessman, there seems to be a better understanding. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think so. See, the irony is that, Mr. Rajiv pointed out, in 1947, India and Pakistan were the 23 countries which signed the GATT agreement,
right.
and that should actually have allowed MFN status to India. But
even as long back as
yes, that was in 1947, but
right.
that has not happened till now. I still maintain that India and Pakistan has a huge trade potential. If we can, India can have a trade relation with China for the last 10 years, and China is now India's second largest trading
right.
partner. And the indirect trade which we are talking about, which happens between India and Pakistan, that
through the Middle East.
Yes, through the Middle East. That amount is significant. There are independent estimates which could be as much as 15 billion.
Okay.
And if there is a formal agreement between India and Pakistan, I think I can see a huge scope that these illegal trade, some of this trade is also illegal. So that could be actually legalized, and the trade between the two could multiply up to 6 to 8 times of what is currently today.
In fact, when this delegation started,
yes.
before going to Pakistan, the estimates was that in the next few years, 3 years or so, we can double the trade,
yes.
to $10 billion. But from what you are saying, it could be much more.
Yes, if we, for example, in the South Asian trading partners like Indonesia and other countries, we have a trade volume of around 15 to 20 billion. So that is at least a number which you could look into between India and Pakistan. For example, we have imported from Pakistan onions in times of distress last year. So my question is why we can't get into a trade relationship with them, which could be advantageous to both India and Pakistan, because they enjoy, multiple interests which are in common.
Right. Priyaranjan, the what Soumya is saying is that there can be, it can multiply several times. You earlier spoke about the indirect trade which is happening. If the direct trade happens, but amidst all this, today there is also a news report that India and Pakistan, they're opening a new border trade in Rajasthan. So these things are also happening simultaneously. You see this as a positive thing also amidst all these negative signals?
Yes, trade flows, trade will find its way. There is economic imperatives on both sides. Now, if India, Pakistan have normal trade relations, who is it going to benefit? It's going to benefit the consumer the most.
Right.
In Pakistan. We have an example, from our own experience, we know 1991 when we liberalized. Now, we also had a feeling here. Our section of our trade and industry felt that we are going to be swamped by imports and it will become dumping ground.
The Chinese was that, that
even the Chinese, yes.
A lot of worry about the Chinese imports.
In 2000 when China entered WTO and we entered into a bilateral agreement recognizing Chinese status, even at that time we had this fear from our own trade and industry that we are going to be flooded and there will be all kinds of dumping. Yes, Chinese imports have come up. China has become a major trading partner of India, but ultimately it's benefited the economy. It brings in more efficiency. And with Pakistan, that imperative is there. Pakistan's financial condition at present. The political compulsions are there, but the economic compulsions are there.
Mr. Sikri, knowing fully well these economic compulsions of Pakistan, Pakistan's economy is almost on the brink. But still this kind of, brinkmanship being played at that level is, something not very easy to understand.
Well, I think that's a very important point you have raised, because I'm given to understand that it is precisely the dire financial and economic situation of Pakistan which led some influential sections of Pakistan industry to tell the government that, look, we must open up to India, otherwise we cannot save ourselves.
Right.
And in any case, the inflow of aid and assistance from abroad, including the United States, is tapering off.
Yes.
So that is what led to the decision in principle, whereby the military, which has earlier always believed that normal trade relations with India is somehow a concession to India.
Yes.
So they changed that position. However, now it seems that the politics have taken over again, and these hopeful and encouraging tendencies that were seen a few months ago have been snuffed out by the compulsions of domestic politics and the power tussle that appears to be going on in Pakistan.
Let me take Mr. Hashmi on this. Mr. Hashmi, you heard what he's saying. The Pakistan economy is not in a very good shape, and it needs this kind of opening up of trade between India and Pakistan. But why this kind of brinkmanship being played there? And isn't there pressure from the bottom, from the people, from the traders, from the industrialists?
Look, these are the two sides of the coin, number one. And number one is that at the people-to-people level and traders-to-trader level, trading with India has always been favorable to Pakistan, and it's always been accepted, norm that, we must trade with India. And in the current time, this desire has increased manifold, that we must trade with India.
Right.
Number one. Number 2 point is that, which is the optimistic point, and it is that, even the military establishment has realized that, we need to ease down with India and, just, come out of that, old antagonistic kind of relationship we used to have. So this is there, and the reason is that, Pakistan is more busy on the Western front.
Right.
So we need to ease down on the Eastern front with India.
Right.
And, we have another factor which we are dealing with, is the internal dynamics of some of the, what is going on in our West. So we have to fight back with that. So we need to ease down with India, and this realization is very much there. But the point is, I'm trying to say is that, it takes little time, it takes some time to materialize it, to bring it into reality.
Okay, Mr. Hashmi, please stay on. We need to go into a short break now. We'll come back soon. Please keep watching. Welcome back. We are discussing the Indo-Pak trade talks in the context of the visit of Commerce Minister Mr. Anand Sharma to Pakistan. Mr. Sikri, coming to you, we've heard all these things. Now, there are also certain demands that multiple entry visas need to be given. India is willing to give, provided Pakistan also responds. You think at least on these kind of issues there will be some concessions, and they will not wait for this MFN status and negative list to happen before? At least these things can go on?
Well, certainly I think we should take steps on trade facilitation,
yes,
like visas, and the newspapers reported that there's a possibility of a customs agreement,
Exactly.
Mutual recognition of degrees, and for handling grievances. All this is to the good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it should not be done, but it does not address the fundamental issue, namely that you need to have a very small negative list in order to have a normal trade between India and Pakistan that most observers agree would benefit both countries, particularly the consumers in
Yes.
both countries.
Yes.
So it's okay to have these, but it doesn't really solve the real problem.
You think these are minor things? That actually
Relatively minor. They're to be welcomed, but they will not be path-breaking.
Indian, Soumya, Indian concern, or rather hopes of exporting things like automobiles, pharmaceuticals. These are the big things which Indian businesses want, is to have access to the markets in Pakistan for automobiles, for various things like pharmaceuticals, and also machinery and things like that. So textiles. These are things which Pakistan doesn't seem to be very easily giving into.
No, if you look at I was going to the newspaper today, so I think they have prepared a negative list.
Even in that, these things are
Even
there.
in that list, these items are still
Yes.
there. However, I mean, if I look it from a positive perspective, for example, when India and China is trading today, whatever India is trading to China, that is not in the India's comparative advantage. So even after taking into account all those factors, these factors may always be worked on. I always maintain that there could be some other areas which could be opened up and which could have a huge market for India in terms of the trade potential.
I mean,
For example,
which are these areas?
Meat is one of them.
Yes.
Fruits and vegetables is one of them. Then gems and jewelry.
Horticulture projects?
Yes, gems and jewelry could be one of them, because gems and jewelry has a 15% share in the Indian exports. So even if we assume that those items are still India cannot export them, there are still areas where India can actually work on.
Okay. Priyaranjan, so you think these measures will continue despite the the resistance which we have seen from Pakistan government side?
I think it's also not, we shouldn't overemphasize this MFN and things like that. Because,
Why do you say
like
so?
Mr. Sikri was mentioning, when translated into Urdu, it becomes sabse pyara dost or something like that. And then it becomes, but it's MFN actually is not that. MFN is
But it's part of the obligation under the GATT and WTO.
Yeah, it's a basic minimum of international trade, where you are just saying that you shall not treat the imports of India anyway differently or adversely than you would treat imports from any other country.
It's a technical term.
It's a technical term, but it's much has been made out. I think from our side also, from India's side also, we've been hung up on this getting MFN status, and we make big deal out of the thing that we gave them MFN status to Pakistan in 1995.
It's not a big deal. So, yeah, Mr.
No,
Sikri,
I think that you need to have a level playing field for trade. If they can sell whatever they want to you, but you cannot sell it, even though their international obligations specify that they should give it, and they are doing it for all other countries, including China, with which also presumably they have a huge trade deficit.
Right.
But it doesn't seem to bother them that
So
China
obviously-
has a great.
Right, right, Mr. Sikri. We are running short of time. Last word to you, Mr. Hashmi. Are you there?
Yes, one thing. Briefly, I want to say that we need to have an environment to have this mutual trade officially get endorsed. The reason is that China's. You just mentioned. Some of you have mentioned about the Chinese trade with Pakistan. So it really raised serious concern in Pakistan because like for instance, the plastic cottage industry in the plastic area. That has shut down many cottage industries shutters in Pakistan because the Chinese goods have flooded
Right.
Pakistani market.
Okay.
So you need to create an environment that Pakistani officials, not the traders on both sides are very smart.
Very
So
smart
the
and very-
officials should not get feared. That you will be or they will be overwhelmed by the Indian goods. So you need to have this environment as well.
Okay.
And I think we should not be disappointed with this little bit thing. It will be going on.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hashmi. Thank you. We have completely run short of time. So it's evident that the atmospherics as far as trade between Indo-Pakistan is where the problem lies. The politics which is played within Pakistan as well as between Indo and Pakistan has come in the way of expanding trade between India and Pakistan. This is as Mr. Sikri right in the beginning pointed out, this is something which we'll have to keep working on and working on for quite some time. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. Rajiv Sikri, Mr. Soumyakanta Ghosh, Priyaranjan Das, and Mr. Hashmi from Islamabad. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on the big picture.